But feelings are the things that actually give meaning to the emotions that we're experiencing. So it's really important to pay attention to the feelings, because once you get to the feelings, you're getting to the root of why you feel the way that you do. And once you start to learn why you're acting the way that you're acting or experiencing life the way that you're experiencing, that feeling becomes like a key that you can unlock and open up doors inside of your very heart and soul to go, okay, now I know what the root is. So we're always interested in getting to the root and not just dealing with the symptoms or the emotions. The emotions are there, they're valid, you gotta name them. But as we start thinking about that, we have to get underneath the emotion and get to the feeling, because that's literally the part where we experience healing and freedom. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're experiencing anger. We didn't talk about anger on this journey, but anger is a strong emotion that many of us carry in this room. And if you just look at anger and you deny its existence, or you shove it down, or you just let it flow out of your life, regardless of how other people feel, it can create all sorts of havoc on earth. So anger is a strong emotion, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's just a secondary emotion. And when you dig underneath the anger and you start to ask the question, like, what is this anger about? And the important thing with anger is to ask yourself the question, so get curious about your anger instead of judging it or berating yourself. Ask the question, what's going on inside of me? And typically what you will find with anger is that underneath it is fear. So a valid question to ask in pertaining to that tip of the iceberg is, what am I afraid of? Many times what happens when we get to the core, then we can actually deal with the emotion and bring healing to that emotion in our experience. We name it, we identify it, and then we get underneath it and we're like, okay, now we can get to work on this thing. So what am I afraid of? Many times it's loneliness. Sometimes it's disappointment that we're gonna cover this morning. Sometimes it's powerlessness. I feel powerless. So I'm angry about that, and then that just literally spills out into relationships and into our human experience. So it's really important when you're dealing with emotions and when you're dealing with feelings to stay curious, because the invitation is always to move from fear to curiosity. You don't want to just be ruled by fear. You want to jump into that and go, okay, I'm going to remain curious in this and start asking better questions so that I can actually get to the thing under the thing. It's really important to identify it, and if we don't identify it, what happens in our human experience is we tend to swim in those emotions. We get overwhelmed, and then if we don't deal with the feeling and what actually is going on underneath the surface, again, it spills out into our relationships.